Hello and welcome to a rather special Sunday repeated on Wednesday program, and this is
the mojo hand, the winning boy's magic.
Marge, this ticket doesn't just give me a seat. It also gives me the right, no, the duty to make a complete ass of myself.
But as for me, I'm off to battle aliens on a faraway planet.
Hello, operator, give me the number for 911.
Who sent you here? Can't talk, little man? Bet can't play none either.
I could pull a better cartoon out of my ass. Hey, whoa! Wasn't that great, kid?
Oh, bitch.
Kill my boss! Do I dare live out the American dream?
Overload. Pleasure overload.
Uh-oh. 2 independent thought alarms in one day.
Good morning, Wood Ticks and Patriots. Welcome to another exciting show, the JustJim Show. It's only me. Hey, I'm always trying to learn something, and today we got a lot of stuff to go over. I put a post out earlier. Maybe I'm going to learn something today. Maybe not. You never know. And it's a wonderful fall day. I'm looking out the window, out the studio at Lake Wish I Be Gone from the bunker here. And tell you, last weekend was probably 100% fall color. And there were a lot of people that came up to view the colors up here in the north woods of Wisconsin, near the Canadian border. I think that's still a border. I don't know if there are borders or not in America. I don't have a clue anymore. Anyway, it's the 6th of October, 2021. And we're going to try and get to a CV-19 topic, French children. The French are going through holy hell over there. That's an actually interesting story, and it may relate to many things that go on here in America. The U.S. mail, Satanist demand. That's very kind of interesting. An older story, but I don't know if anybody ever talked about it that you've heard. What else we got? We have floating migrants, where they're going, what's going on with them when they decide to take off from someplace. Guess who's coming to Din Din? That one might interest you. And, of course, we now have, y'all know what the Pandora box is, right? What a Pandora box is? Stuff that you just don't want to see or know about. But guess what? There's a pile of Pandora papers. And with that, let's get to it. A report came out. You'll have to excuse. I'm going to make excuses right here. I have seen my eye doctors, and apparently I have some issues with my eyes. I'm going to get them taken care of. But until then, if I kind of I got to get a little extra light over there. If I kind of stumble around a little bit, it's not a stroke coming on again. Anyway, Wuhan and American researchers at EcoHealth Alliance and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, WIV, had a plan to release. Get the English language is very specific. Had a plan to release, quote unquote, enhanced airborne coronavirus particles, end quote, into Chinese bat populations to inoculate them against diseases that could jump to humans. Wait a minute. No, that doesn't jump to humans. We don't eat bats, do we? Except for my buddies. We all eat bats. Wet, dry, in between, roasted, toasted. We just eat them because we like them. According to a new report from the British newspaper Telegraph. Credibility, I don't know. It's up to you to decide. Excuse me, we all have our own resources and our intelligence quotient. Go check it out. If you don't believe what I'm reading, hey, go check it out yourself. According to the report, EcoHealth Alliance submitted a grant proposal. Let's see, they're asking for money in 2018, and just 18 months before the COVID-19 cases appeared, describing a plan to release skin-penetrating nanoparticles and aerosols containing novel samaric spike proteins of bat coronaviruses into cave bats in Yunnan, China. Wait a minute. Did you catch that? skin penetrating. That's quote unquote nanoparticle. Nanoparticles. That's very, very small, micro. Researchers also wanted to create chimeric viruses that were genetically enhanced to infect, this is quote unquote, quote, genetically enhanced to infect humans more easily, and requested $14 million from the Pentagon's Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, to fund the work. Now, isn't that exciting? Not. Oh, let's see. Where were we? The papers show that the researchers were hoping to introduce human-specific cleavage sites. Now, that's traditionally not what you think of when you hear cleavage. But to bat coronaviruses, which would make it easier for the virus to enter human cells. Now, if you don't want to call, and I'd give Rand Paul his just due. He had Fukuyama on the stand. He was testifying to a committee, and a good old Rand Paul called it like it is. That would be considered a gain of function. And that's against our tax dollar grant parameters. You can't do that. You can't. No, you can't do that. As the Telegraph noted, when COVID-19 was first genetically sequenced, scientists were puzzled about how the virus had evolved such a human-specific adaptation at the cleavage site on the spike protein, which is the reason it is so infectious. We've, over the years, I don't know if you have, but I know I have, because I'm a sci-fi fan. I've watched many a sci-fi movie or, Hollywood make-believe. Sometimes they're pretty smart. And I always wondered where they come up with these ideas. I mean, some of them are bad. They're B-grade movies, horror movies, and I don't watch horror movies, but I like what's the word? Lost that a word here. The twisty, spiny stories that take you here and there. Anyways, they come up with ideas somewhere, and half the time I think the Defense Department, which is, once again, military applications, and we're paying for it. 2018. So that was only a year or two for them to develop this gain of function. That's just mind-boggling. The Fukuyama will sit there and say, "Oh no, we didn't do it. No, that's not gain of function. What are you talking about, bucko?" Security personnel there's a picture on this story that they stood outside of the Wuhan Institute to make sure that scientists, they let them in a while back to walk around and see if it really was the wet market for the bats, this, that, or the other thing that got it released, or was it in the laboratory? Yes, it was in the laboratory. Let's see. The papers were released by Drastic, a web-based investigation team set up by scientists across the world to look into the origins of COVID-19. The papers were reportedly confirmed as genuine by a former member of the Trump group. Drastic said in a statement, according to the UK paper, quote, "Given that we find in this proposal a discussion of planned introduction of human-specific cleavage sites, a review by the wider scientific community of the plausibility of artificial insertion is warranted." So they're saying, this group of people is saying that an artificial insertion into the general population is highly probable and should be looked at. In the meantime, you see little bar charts and graphs and spikes and valleys and lockups and don't sniff or snort in public because blah, blah. There was a published section on their website. Drastic was recently made aware of documents provided by a whistleblower. You know, you got to love those people. We're sitting with Facebook has one right now. Good, bad, or indifferent. Which shows that EcoHealth Alliance, EHA, in concert with the Wuhan Institute of Virology coronavirus research that would clearly qualify as gain of function. GOF, gain of function, in a grant proposal submitted to the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. If you ever hear these acronyms, I'm trying to read the whole thing instead of just blurting out the acronyms. The grant proposal was submitted by Peter Duzak of EcoHealth Alliance, which has worked closely with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Ooh, there's that Wuhan wet market again. Yeah. Researching bat coronavirus, and has received millions in U.S. taxpayer funds from the National Institute of Health, NIH. Who the heck does Fujiyami work for? Not you or me, apparently. Jamie Metzel, a member of Drastic, tweeted Tuesday, as a first step towards overcoming the shocking misinformation campaign, I called for Peter Duzak to immediately be removed from both the Lancet CV-19 Commission and the WHO convened International Expert Group on Pandemic Origins. You can go on and on and on with this thing, which it does. I'm reading just parts of this. Breitbart News has previously reported that the NIH provided a grant worth more than not one, not two, but $3 million of U.S. taxpayer funds to EcoHealth Alliance for research between 2014 and 2019. Now, this happened in 2018. So we're already into the tail end of that money that we have sent them, with some of the money going to the Wuhan lab as part of a grant entitled, quote-unquote, Understanding the Risk of Bat Coronavirus Emergence. So they're concerned about skin contact absorption, gain of function. If we do this, it'll do that. Not naturally, but if we help it along a little bit. The Intercept report was based on 9,000 pages of U.S. government documents obtained by the website through the Freedom of Information Act, FOIAs. You'll hear me say that short acronym often because we do submit FOIAs, for about 5 years. Every day you got to get a stack of papers. You read the news from your local and regional news happenings, and you might as well just start with a whole ream of paper, FOIAs. You start sending them off. The documents reveal that some of the grant money Fauci's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, NIAID, gave to EcoHealth Alliance. So this is step by step by step, and that's what Fujiyami was telling Rand Paul when he testified in his committee, that we didn't know where the money was going to go. So we have another story here about offshore accounts and the convoluted mess that is actually going on with your and mine elected officials. Gave to the EcoHealth Alliance did indeed fund the Wuhan lab's controversial gain-of-function research to create novel coronavirus with the ability to infect humans. And you know those scientists, they'll say, oh, we just stumbled on it. We didn't mean to do that. But guess what happened? Even if you stumble into it, it's still called gain-of-function. This virus was able to do something that it didn't do before, and there's no other logical or illogical. You can't stay up and babble about it. It is called gain of function. It does something else than it would normally do. and including a previously undisclosed SARS-related coronavirus engineered at the Wuhan lab that reportedly was demonstrated, underlined, to be more pathogenic to humans than the virus from which it was originally constructed. Originally constructed. That means that it was made. The virus was made. And then all of a sudden, it's like artificial intelligence. It gained some other function, either coincidentally by itself. And Mother Nature's funny because it finds a way. And I think you all know that. And if you don't, maybe you ought to quit lamenting over CRT and start looking at facts. Facts. That's the truth. Not a wannabe newscast reading a teleprompter. We don't read teleprompters. I read news reports. I like that report, but it'll fly right over the top of somebody else's head because it's way over their pay grade. Oh, I don't understand that. This blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, that's like a little green gal running around and testifying. We heard this from Congress, blah, 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 blah. Oh, God. Now, hey, and this, you, boys and girls, you have to understand that it doesn't matter who, what, why, or when some group of people or a person does something. It is called the fact. That's what happened. And I'm not saying the religious right's going to jump on my ass on this one. There's a quarter. But this is over in Paris, and that would be in France. That would also be the country that pulled its ambassadors out of the United States and Australia. Because why? Do you people know? Do you remember? Connect the dots here, folks. Follow the bouncing ball. Because America, Sniffin' Joe, and Britain made a pact with Australia to pass on a little nuclear information and some submarines to them. That just happened. Y'all should know that. You should have the hair up on your back about that one, too, because everybody goes, well, why is Australia doing all the things that they're doing? The Gestapo march, the raiding on people's houses with 3 and 4 police officers asking, have you been to a political motivated meeting or a rally? Are you going to go? And it's like, does this not ring true to anyone? Of course, we haven't taught our youngsters anything about history, so I guess they wouldn't know that this was the beginning of the brown shirts, the jackboot thugs in Germany in when? Just before World War II. The last official war that America got their butts into. Anyway, here we are. We got a report coming off the AP. Paris. Victims of abuse within France's Catholic Church welcomed a historic turning point Tuesday. It was yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. After a new report estimated that, hang on to your bootstraps here, boys and girls, 330,000 children in France were sexually abused over the past 70 years, providing the country's first accounting of the worldwide phenomenon. Now, isn't this funny? At least it is to me in my simple brain. This is a worldwide phenomenon. Worldwide. And if a pandemic can be many different things, and if you have 330,000 children, our youngsters, hey, our future, the future of the world, America, France, blah, blah. 300, we'll call it a phenomenon. This is just a phenomenon, but it's going on for 70 freaking years. The figure includes abuses committed by some 3,000 priests. I don't know about you, but in my book, they're not priests. They're predators. They should be locked up, given a healthy dose of Schwanstown cake mix, and turned over with a bar of soap into the shower room. They might like that, though. And an unknown number of other people, quote unquote, involved in the church. Wrongdoing the Catholic authorities covered up over decades of systematic manner, quote unquote, according to the president of the commission that reported to Jean-Marc Sauve. A 2,500-page document. You know, we go out and we investigate things like this. Somebody has the cojones to stand up and tell a story. Somebody first has to listen, and then somebody else has to be motivated to get up off their patooties and try and do more investigation to see, well, is this a one-shot deal? Were there more than one? Was there more than one person that this affected? Excuse me. And a systematic manner. The 2,500 page, we can write a report of 2,500 pages, which I guess it seems like a lot. But in the scheme of all of these bills and new progressive, quote unquote, meanderings by our politicians to come in, there's stacks of paper. The 2,500 report, 2,500 page is probably, well, what do we got? 500. You know, a ream of paper is what? 2,000. How many are in there? There's 750 pages. I use a heavier paper, but there's 750 pages in a ream of paper. So you go to the store and you look at Walmart and see that little package about that big, 750 pages. So what is that? 5 of these things, 2,500 page. But you go and watch a bill that Pelosi or Feinstein puts into the Congress, and it's a stack of papers from the floor to my hand. And they're supposed to read everybody's supposed to read and understand it when they pass these so-called bills. They're not bills, they're mandates. They're programs. So 2,500 pages to me is a lot of doodly squat. Nothing. It went to the issue to the Catholic Church in France. Like in other countries, seeks to face up to shameful secrets that were long covered up. Victims welcomed the report as long overdue, and the head of the French Bishops' Conference asked for forgiveness from them. I don't know about you, but as this story goes on, you'll understand my commentary. The study authors estimate 80% of the church's victims were boys. And what does that mean? Do the math yourselves. 80% were boys, while the broader study of sexual abuse found that 75% of the overall victims were girls. Oh, the Independent Commission urged the church to take strong action. That's a subjective perspective and commentary. A strong action. To take strong action, denouncing its, quote, faults and silence. No, and here, you've heard the stories. A priest gets moved, doesn't just voluntarily move. The Catholic diocese picks a person who's been accused or they know molested a child, and they park him in another archdiocese. That's the way it's been going on. This has nothing to do with faults and silence. That has to do with being an enabler. It's called being an enabler. You know people who they keep doing the same thing over and over and over, get the same results. Doesn't matter if you move into new one, other than you've now a new archdiocese, other than that you've given that priest or that lay person the ability to find new victims. This is ludicrous. And I'll stop and make a past comment on one of my shows. I called out Steve Gibbs, circuit judge, used to be an NRA range lawyer, was an excellent lawyer, protected the Second Amendment. And at any place there was a problem with a range with supposedly lead or shots fired or outside of the range, noise, pollution, blah blah. He got elected to circuit court judgeship, and he just gave a child molester 5 and 8 months, a 5-year-old and 8-year-old, a couple of months. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing on the bench, bucko? Now I'm going to work as hard to get you off the bench as I did to try to get you on the bench. I get it. I also know that now you're a piece of crap. Your sense of justice has nothing to do with the average person's furious position of, what the hell did you do? I'll give you another quarter. Excuse me. It also called on the church, the Catholic Church, let's call it a spade, the Catholic Church, to help compensate the victims, notably in cases that are too old to prosecute in French courts. Kind of funny how the accusers, they run out of time. By the time they grow up, live through what they live through, and have the ability to actually stand up straight with a spine and confront, or hopefully tell the story that then confronts their abusers, there's 20, 30, sometimes 50, 60, 70 years between point A and point B. And we as a society say, yeah, if it's more than 5 years old, you can't even prosecute it. You can't look into it. Here's a perfect case. Once, because of the statute of limitations, there's now 300. They find 330,000, not 300, 3,000, even 30,000, 300,000 plus children that are now adults. Some stood up, some did not. Apparently, 330,000 had the cojones to now either sign an affidavit anonymously, but whoever did with the commission, they know who they are. I just don't get this. But we as a society, on whole, don't like to look at this. We consider the church as a debt towards the victims. Oh, excuse me, the church has a debt towards victims. Francois Deveau, head of the victims group La Parole Libérée, the Liberated Worlds, said it was a turning point in our history. He denounced the cover-ups that permitted mass crimes for decades, quote unquote. But even worse, there was a betrayal of trust, between betrayal of morality, betrayal of children, betrayal of innocence, which you can never get back. Martime and Mirel, that's her neck. My eyes are, like I said, I got bad eyes. I'm going to get them fixed. Age 73 and 71 were sexually assaulted by a priest when they were teenage girls in high school. They both declined to give their last name due to privacy reasons, in part because some family members were not aware of the abuses. Boy, I could do and I may just do it. I might end up doing a show about that. The ability of people standing around, watching, living, but not observing anything that might be out of the ordinary while something like this is going on. It brings on such terrible thoughts. For me personally, I had to wait for my parents to die, because otherwise, she said, it was not possible to speak out. Consider that, if you will. The person who has and is going through something, a child, one of our future, is being molested, and both mentally and physically, and nobody seems to notice. It brings on such terrible thoughts. I think each victim experienced it as if they were the only one, and that's part of this phenomenon, pandemic. Let's call it what it is. Involved control and secrecy. We are in a condition of submission, in a mental in mental captivity. So we follow this person who suddenly takes power over us. We are caught in a spider web. Bingo. Good description. Because nobody wants to see what's going on. You don't want to go try and walk on a spider web. Oh, God. I don't relish talking about this stuff, but do you think that ABC, NBC, CBS Sports, your NFL yahoos would take the time to talk and think about what has happened to our children? Yeah, it's over in France. You haven't even looked at America yet. And I know I got stories. Stuff we did look into. This commission said, quote unquote, I perceive this priest as someone who is good, a caring person who would not harm me. So you open up and you're supposed to feel comfort. What do you get? A hand on your crotch. Where is that? That's God's work, huh? Where is that? Be good to your neighbors. The same people, the same frickin' people who let this happen for 70 fricking years are going to be the ones who will tell you that you have to accommodate some illegal alien from Haiti or some Afghanese who supposedly has been vetted, not until they're sitting in Camp McCoy chasing little girls around, raping them, because that's the way they are. Now you'll have this church mom telling you, oh, you have to just show some love to your neighbors. Here's love to your neighbors. 330,000 children tried to get consolation for whatever reason and were molested. You talk about me escalating my voice. I get pissed when I read this. We have such village idiots running around in conditions of power. And boy, I tell you, you challenge their power and they're going to come after you with a vengeance of the devil while they molest your little kids. The president of the Conference of Bishops of France said French bishops, quote, are appalled at the conclusions of the report. You mean to tell me that those village idiots and court jesters had no idea that Father Murphy down the road over there, that I see all the time and I get coffee and I'll come in and help him give communion, was molesting his altar boys? Or was it that, well, like Jeffrey Epstein, we'll just hop on the jet and go to the island for a weekend? The report comes after a scandal surrounding now defrocked priest Bernard Prénat rocked the French Catholic Church last year. That would have been, 2020? Prénat was convicted of sexually abusing minors and given a 5-year prison term. And he admitted abusing more than 75 boys for decades. He gets 5 years. Steve Gibbs, that sounds about the same as your little dose of justice. It just incensed me. I cannot tell you how vile that organization is because of what it has done to our children. While it was supposed to be protecting and advancing, another discussion, the good of humanity in a good and evil battle, which is now going on more than most people understand or want to admit to seeing. They're ostriches. They've put their heads in the sand. I just don't want to know what's going on. If I don't know about it, then it can't be happening until some bozo knocks on your door, like in Australia. Well, I tell you what, I've been rambling on for a little bit. I'm going to take a break, a couple seconds. You're listening to the Just Jim Show on the Dose of Reality Network. See you in a flash. Yeah, welcome back. I had to get a little bit of coffee. And believe it or not, today I do not have my Just Jim Show coffee mugs. I have my rum chata coffee mug. And it was a pretty good sip. Let's see what we got. Yeah, put a little bit of music in the background here. Hey! Glad you're with us. Just Jim Show. Broadcasting from the bunker at Lake Wish I Be Gone. The another news story that just came out, and it is kind of tied into many things, much like my little commentary on the molestation. There's a headline: slower U.S. mail standards take effect Friday. Don't know if you heard it. And you have to remember to connect the dots here. A number of years ago, one of the first stimulus packages, I forget who it was, they gave money to the U.S. Postal Service, and the U.S. Postmaster General said, we don't need the money. We don't want the money. All of a sudden now, how budgeteers work, much like the Three Musketeers, you get a budget, and if you can be fiscally responsible and not spend the entire budget, at the end of the year you got money left over, and then you go back and ask for the same amount of money, and everybody looks at you like, oh, you didn't spend it all last time. Mama couldn't give you that much money. So they find things to spend their money on. But let's turn that off. The U.S. Postal Service is now positioned to get a ton of money. But what they're going to do, because I'm going to call the pandemic a phenomena. The phenomena of CV-19, how they're going to combat that. The U.S. Postal Services plan to take the program is going to start Friday. Slow down first-class mail deliveries as part of its effort to cut red tape ink. As the Congress continues to consider a financial relief package for the cash-strapped post office. Now, wait a minute. A couple of years ago, Bozo B says outright he doesn't need the money. They don't want the money. So kind of like the performing arts, PBS, performing arts groups. They don't want the money. They want to be out from under the rule of the federal government. And isn't the U.S. Mail Service a private corporation? I'm just asking. I don't know. The new standards, which were finalized in August, revise existing 1 to 3 day. They predict the existing 1 to 3 day delivery service standards as 1 to 5 days, and will impact about 40% of first-class mail. So we're going to go back to the Pony Express shortly anyway, so it doesn't matter what the post office gets. USPS recommends that if it would take you, more than a day to drive your mail to its destination, make sure you drive your mail. What's mail is you just go do your thing. Make sure to give your long-distance mail some extra time needed to travel via the USPS. Starting October 3rd, which we're already at the 6th, going to again temporarily hike price for some packaged shipments for the 2021 holiday peak holiday season. So they have the authority to just jack their rates up a little bit. Could it be that nobody wants to be a postman, postwoman? USPS has struggled. Excuse me. Got to go back up here. Postmaster Louis DeJoy in March proposed cutting $160 billion in predicted losses over the next decade, with the changes in service standards as a key part. So, your mail letter could be a month. Hell, at this stage of the game, God bless our service people, mail probably made it faster from Walla Walla, Washington, to the bunkers in Germany faster than where these boys are going to start trying to get it. USPS struggled with poor delivery performance over the past year, facing a higher boost in packages and staffing issues due to COVID-19. Everything's COVID-19 related. Don't you love it? Not. It's not COVID-19 related. It's called people being lazy. They don't want to work. Well, guess why would you when you get $900 a week or $600 a week for doing nothing? In late August, USPS raised prices of first-class stamps from 50 lowered. Why does it say raised? It's lowered. Oh, never mind. They went up from 55 cents to 58 cents. USPS reported net losses of more than $90 billion since 2007. If you or I run out of money because we're not doing what we need to do to stay within the checkbook, don't we go out of business? Oh, here's one of these. As Obama said back when he was visiting however many states, 52 states, I don't know. Another village idiot. Where was I going to go with this? You're losing $90 billion. That's it. Corporation that's too big to fail. You can't. Enron did it. Obama did it. One reason is legislation mandating it pre-fund more than $120 billion in retiree health care and pension liabilities. A requirement labor unions have called an unfair burden not shared by other businesses. Well, it's kind of funny. Again, now it's a private organization, yet Congress and the United States government is going to tell you have to do this and you have to do that. But, you other private businesses like Giddings and Lewis and Al's Chalmers, you don't have to pre-fund anything. Just take the write-off. Congress is considering a plan to provide USPS with $46 billion in financial relief. That's interesting. I guess I'll put a post office sign outside my door and get some funding. And it was approved in May by House Oversight and Reform Committee. It's waiting to be reviewed by the Ways and Means Committee, which is going to be reviewed by the Village Idiot community. And then it's going to get sent over to the Court Jester Committee. Hines said once that panel approves the bill, we have the commitment of the leadership of the House of Representatives that they will bring it to the floor for a vote. The vote's planned for October. Oh, that's this month. I tell you, give them more money and have less expectations. Does that sound familiar in anything in American way of life right now? Does it? I don't know. Kids want to have $20 an hour when they start working. I've likened that to, I've said it a number of times, that our expectations by our youngsters are so skewed and out of place. You go to work, it's like starting a new video game. Y'all kids can understand that. You start at the bottom, you get some tokens, you move your way up the ladder until you get up the top and beat the game. The workplace is exactly like that. You get to start at entry level because you don't have experience. And even some of these bozos that come out of college don't have a clue. They're book taught, book learned, not real life learned. Oh, here we go. Oh, here it is. Where's my music here? There we go. I put this in this report in the funny column because to me, it's the funny. Satanists demand religious exemption to perform illegal abortion rituals. This came out in September 9th, 2021. Can you believe this? Oh, yeah. Satanists demand. Who the flock are they? Texas recently passed the latest bill to fight to fight against abortion in the state. If you haven't already heard, the bill is a heartbeat legislation which bans all abortion beyond 6 weeks into a pregnancy. But hold the horses. The Satanic Temple. TST is not happy about the move by Texas to save unborn children from the hands of abortion providers. Satanists are arguing the new bill or law will restrict their freedom of religious practice. Is that an oxymoron to anybody but me? Satanism, religious. I don't get it. Where does this? Where does this? These two words and meanings intersect. I don't get it. Satanists argue that the law restricts their right to free religious practice, referring to abortions as a religious abortion ritual and a ceremony rooted in our deeply held beliefs. Oh, boy. Deeply held religious beliefs. This ritual may be performed by our members as a way to fortify self-worth, instill confidence, and provide spiritual comfort. I'm cut from a different cloth. I'm sorry. Those words are, it's funny. They're not disturbing to me, but they are very wary words, take notice words. At some point you end up being almost speechless. It exempts Satanists from fulfilling any medical, unnecessary, and unscientific requirements, such as mandatory waiting periods or unwanted sonograms. That interferes with the practice of our ritual. We're just going to dig them out. That's it. Boy, I wish I had a women's right person sitting here. We could have a great discussion. The group's now taken direct legal action to defend its members' rights in the legal system. The current law in Texas is that a direct threat to violate the rights of these people have stated in general. In a sickening move by Satanists the day after they filed suit, they asked their members to carry out completely illegal abortions, as in, let's defy the law. The group has offered to help its members get an abortion within the first 24 weeks of pregnancy. Texas abortion law went into effect September 1st, 2021. The law is the first heartbeat law to not have a stay in the Supreme Court. You're fighting, but the argument can go, you either believe it or you don't. Can go either way, because you can have a pile of words on this side, a pile of words on that side. It is between you and your maker, and I don't know how anybody can say that a fetus is not a person. I don't know. I don't get it. I do not get it. I just don't. And let's get on here. We're running out of time, which is fine. Go as long as I want. That's right. I own the show. North African migrants adrift tell of last-minute rescue. Oh, the 11th hour thing. This will be our 11th hour story. Aboard Geo Barents, the small fiberglass boat had begun to take on water not long after the engine stopped working. Remember that, the engine. Its 6 passengers started bailing it out, not knowing how long they could keep the sea at bay. Interesting. Sea at bay. Walid, a Tunisian man who, along with 5 others, was hoping to cross the Mediterranean for a better life in Europe. Estimates they removed water from the boat for roughly 5 hours. Well, that's a part-time job. We were so desperate, he said. You know what brings to mind when I read that? It's a quote-unquote. We were so desperate, he said, is the Geico critter on his knees looking for a more dramatic scene to close up. Oh, I have a flat tire. Yeah. Then, at first daylight on September 20th, the crew of a rescue vessel spotted them through binoculars. Marvelous invention. I just bought a new pair. They saw Waleed and others waving and directing a laser light at them. These guys are immigrants, but they got laser lights. And they had, hang on to your story hats here. They found 6 men, 3 Libyans, 2 Tunisians, and 1 Moroccan. The group had embarked a day earlier from Libya's coastal town of Zawiya. A major, I think I said it right. If I mispronounce it, you send it in. news@thejustjimshow.com. I'll consider it. A major launching point for migrants attempting to the dangerous voyage. All 6 say they were fleeing difficult and threatening situations in Libya, where 3 of them had relocated years before due to economic troubles at home. So now they've relocated from point A to point B. That's where they've been. Probably claim political I can't think of the word. Whatever. Refugee status. North African Arabs represent a large and seemingly growing proportion of migrants who are trying to reach Europe via the Mediterranean. So I'm going to short jump through this. Late on Monday, the newest influx to Italy came by sea when around 700 migrants crammed into a rusty fishing boat reached the Italian island of Lampedusa, located midway between Tunisia and the Italian mainland. Many appear to be men from North Africa or the Middle East. I got to find... Okay. This month's sea crossing was Waleed's 8th attempt to reach Europe since 2013. 8 times he's tried to get across from point A to point B. He said, for the past 70 years, a 42-year-old father of 2 from the city of Tunis had worked as a chef in neighboring Libya. He described his life there recently as nightmarish. Just recently, though. Any Libyan can beat you, insult you, take your savings, and you, as a foreigner, can't do anything, he said. Waleed's shipmates included another Tunisian, Kamal Bezali, who had worked as a sailor in Libya, and Mohammed, a 30-year-old Moroccan barber. Waleed said, that should be on the 90-Day Fiancé show, Moroccan barber. Waleed said the barber asked to be identified only by the first names to avoid endangering friends still in Zawiya. Hailing from Morocco's ancient city of Fez, Muhammad arrived in Libya in March of 19 and settled in the western town of Sabratha. Last year, militants stormed his house, seized his passport and savings. That's when he decided to leave. I'm going to skim this one here because it seems to me, Mohammed got a spot on a small boat with which was just 4 meters, 13 feet in length, and I got one of them right out there. The 6 men had a 40 horsepower motor and a smaller 25 horsepower engine as a spare. Now, remember back, I said, hold that thought. These are immigrants that are destitute. Let's see, they got laser lights. They got 1 motor. No, wait, they got 2. As it turns out, they got 3. How many of you Americans here got 3 outboard motors? And 1 little 13-foot dinghy. They had only 1 frayed life jacket on board. I love the adjectives that press writers use nowadays. Frayed life jacket. It turns out, and I can't find it, I didn't highlight it. this guy so distraught over his survival, but he won't give out his name. And you want to know why? And it's here in the story. He won't give out his name because he has a pregnant wife back at home. Now, ain't that just a grandiose man? And I'm not slighting in any way, shape, or form the conditions and the attitude of people that they're trying to get away from to try to better their life. I get that. I wholeheartedly get it. I get it, I do. But how scared are you to leave everything behind, your livelihood that you support your family with, to say, I'm done. I have to leave, but I'm going to leave my wife that I love and have kids with, and she's got one in the pot. I'm just going to walk away because I have to get away. In my mind up here, simple as it is, that says to me, you're nowhere near being a man. And I will give you this, that because I live in America, I have an entirely different viewpoint on what a man is and what a man can do. And or what a woman could do. You hop in a boat. You got two. I'm trying to think how you get 6 people. I got a 13-foot fishing boat right down 20 feet out the door. And I have a 5.5 Johnson on it. Oh, no marketing ploy there. And I got 3 seats in the 13-foot fishing boat. And I'm going to get a 40-horse Merc on a 40-horse outboard motor on that little boat. And I'm going to fit 6 people in there and still have room for another motor, a smaller motor. Where in God's green earth, or Allah's green earth, do you have any sense that you're going to make it out on the ocean from point A, from Libya to Spain? I don't know if they had 3 inches of freeboard. I don't know boats that are that big in the scheme of things. Anyway, you are listening to the Just Jim Show on the Dose of Reality Network. Every Wednesday we'll do this show. Now, I will give you this. I'm a little foggy today because last night was our first pool league night, and it was kind of a long night. And there was some libation involved. So I'm a little scratchy here this morning. I'll do this quick as I'm running. I see the time's running a little short, but former Border Patrol Chief Biden fired, issues hair-raising warning about who's coming into the country for din-din. Wow. Lordy. Here's a guy that runs, he used to run the Border Patrol. He warns that the president's policies cause a rapid disintegration of what was arguably the most effective border security in our nation's history. The Biden administration team at DHS is laser focused on expediting the flow of migrants into the U.S., which brings me back to the point of they're not vetted down there. They don't give them the poke down there. I'll bet the poke is supposed to be a condition of getting brought in. You have to agree to take it. But they don't give it to them there. Hell, I could do some sharpshooting with poke guns, zap them in the ass, and they'd get their vaccine. For everything, smallpox, all of it. Give them all in one. Shove all that junk into one shot in a dart. Give them a shot in the butt. All you got to do is have high ground. You're good to go. Oh, my God. In my professional assessment, the U.S. Border Patrol is rapidly losing the situational awareness required to know who and what is entering our homeland. You know, I have a problem with that word homeland. And it falls into Germany in World War II, prior to the homeland. Who started? Was that Bush? I don't remember who started the Homeland Defense group. And when he used that term, I absolutely went livid. It just struck a nerve from World War II in my scrawny little unknowing brain. Homeland. No, I'm sorry. While that is a nationalist perspective, our English language is very specific. I don't buy that that's the correct term, homeland. Hey, America. It's the melting pot of the world. It's not a homeland, though people can adapt to it and claim it to be theirs. That's what we're all about. But it's not. Homeland brings the jackboot thug image clearly to my mind. And with that, I'm a little out of time, a little over time, but I don't care. I own it. After he said that, he then issued a dire warning about who is actually entering the U.S. besides poor migrants. And while this article is being very gracious in calling them migrants, which some of them are, they're illegal immigrants, except if they land on an evac plane coming out of Afghanistan. Haitians, how the hell do Haitians get from Haiti to the U.S. border? I don't know. They must fly like Superman or something. I don't know. But anyway, Alexandro Mayorkas is choosing to ignore the sound recommendations of career government leadership despite his own admissions that he agrees with them. There we go, talking out of both sides of their mouth, like Pisaki. He noted further that the massive illegal entries into the U.S. are being orchestrated by high-level drug officials in the Mexican cartels so as to create, quote-unquote, controllable gaps in border security, which they go on to say that they can easily smuggle contraband, criminals, and even political terrorists into the U.S. at will. At will. And that's exactly what is happening. And with that, I guess I'll throw that away. And with that, I guess I could go on. And I may turn around and do a show Tuesdays and Thursdays rather than just Wednesdays, because Wednesday morning may be hard for me to get up after pool. We'll see how I feel. Hey, don't forget, like and subscribe our program, my program, over on YouTube on the Dose of Reality TV network. The Just Jim Show. You would want to stay in touch because we are in touch. And with that, I will send off today. I normally play a God Made a Patriot, but I'm actually going to stand up for all you patriots and even the youngsters. This is a lesson well learned, or taught, I should say, that our young children need to do. And God, I meant to get to this. I'll stretch it a little longer today. Get involved in your local politics, specifically your local school boards. This stuff has to start there. We have to re-educate our kids because this stuff has just been happening, as it were, being untaught or taught falsehoods in our classrooms, which reminds me, doody-doody-doo. Dawn, I got a letter the other day. Dawn, if you're listening, make sure your sister sends me that information at the news@thejustjimshow.com. Right there, news@thejustjimshow.com. Have her send me that information. I am more than happy to guarantee anonymity. I will never release my sources unless I choose or they choose to let me do it. But I'll guarantee you that I will move in and gather every bit of information I can and bust them. Bring it out. Air the laundry out. The old saying, the truth shall set you free. And with that, I will bid you adieu today. It's been a pleasure chit-chatting with you. Next, mark the number down, 855-490-2300, studio hotline. Someday, give me a jingle jangle. And with that, please be good to each other. May God bless you. Have a good day and a better tomorrow.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer, I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher. Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell. And he says, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge. Dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Uh-oh. 2 independent thought alarms in one day.